Hello, Tamily. It is time for episode 97 of Ask Tamily. Our guest for today is Veronica, and her Instagram name is Veronica underscore health life. So you should definitely follow her if you aren't already. And she will be joining in a moment. We have some questions planned. Free to type some into the chat as well, and we will take those. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us and for being Ask Tamily interview number 97.
Yay!
We are so excited to get to know you a little bit better, Veronica. So thank you for being willing to be interviewed. And we'd like to just jump right in and start with our first favorite question, which is when and how did you start the Tracy Anderson method?
Okay, so I guess it makes sense. So I watched Kim's Tamily interview a while back.
Okay.
So my background is very similar. So I danced as a kid and all that stuff, and it was always like a later I was kind of like a boutique studio junkie, like there's a chain in Houston called Define. They had like, the cycling, plus the plus yoga, plus the bar stuff. But I always knew of Tracy. I had seen her stuff, in magazines. I had seen like her dance with Nicole Richie, and I always thought the dance cardio was really fun because I used to actually dance with a modern dance company, and I pretty much danced until my late 20s, like in like a small company in Wisconsin. And I always knew of her, but I thought like, oh, it's expensive, and oh, I like to go out to the studios and stuff. So when I got pregnant with my daughter, so we moved from, my husband and I moved in end of 2014. After we got married, we moved from Houston to Johannesburg, South Africa.
Wow.
For his job. And all of a sudden I didn't have a studio, and Johannesburg is also not the type of city where you like start going somewhere like on your own like right away. So I was kind of stuck in our apartment or on our complex and grounds, and so I watched a bunch of YouTube, did a bunch of the free YouTube stuff, and then shortly after I found out I was pregnant with our first daughter, and I just was like, okay, well, this is the time to do the pregnancy project. So I got the DVD, and then I pretty much for my first pregnancy did the pregnancy project, at least a couple times a week. And then I did a ton of yoga. I found this awesome yoga community. And so I finished that, and my daughter was born in 2015, and around the time that she was maybe like, I don't know, 9 months, I think, Tracy and Health Magazine did the 2-week free trial. I don't know if she ran it back then all the time on her website, but I found it, and I did the 2-week free trial, and I was so confused because I was like, oh, it's not dance cardio first, it's muscular structure first. And I remember like dying. Like, first of all, I was not as conditioned, coming off of having a baby and like just doing sporadic workouts. And then, and then I just finished the 2-week trial, and I was like, something feels weird. And I found out I was pregnant again. So basically I was about to sign up for streaming, and I'm like, oh yes, like it was good. Like, so basically then I told myself, okay, I'm going to get through this next pregnancy, and after that I'm not going to do any DVDs or whatever. I'm just going to jump into streaming. And so that was in April, my son was born in March, so sometime in April 2017 is when I started streaming.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. Excellent. So, where do you live now? If you lived in Johannesburg then, did you move back to the United States?
Yeah, so that's a good question and probably good to put myself into context. So right now we live in a suburb of Dallas, like 20 minutes out of Dallas, Texas. But I'm from Germany.
Okay.
So I'm born and raised in Germany and didn't move to the States until I went to college when I was 20.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so and I went to college in Wisconsin. So it's so funny when I look at the Tamily because I feel so connected to different ones because like Cassie is in Madison, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I used to go to Madison all the time when I was in college. And because I lived in a town a little further away, went to different college, but one of my best friends went to college there. And then, but I also lived in Houston. So I remember Julie, who now works for Tracy, like she was somebody while I was pregnant, I was like stalking all the time because I'm like, I used to live in Houston and she has these amazing results. And she really was the one who got me to be like, press the button on streaming, I think, to be just like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then we also lived in Salt Lake City for a while. We met, my husband and I met in Virginia Beach. That's where we lived, that whole area.
Okay.
And then we also lived in Dubai for a short amount of time.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
Yeah, so we were all over.
Like true Tamily.
Yes.
So just, kind of building on the fact that you feel connected to a lot of the Tamily members, who are some of the most inspirational Tamily members that have made an impact to you?
Okay, that is, so there's lots of them and I probably will forget some, but so some of them are now more than just, online connections. I'm sure it's like that for you. So like Scotty, who you had on a few interviews back, like she and I talk a lot, like, we kind of started hanging, like connecting through like nutrition stuff that I worked with her on, but now I, work with her on her business as well with Rodan and Fields. And so it's just like this girls support girls thing, which leads me to Christina, because originally I bought her Girls Support Girls sports bra and I really wanted to wear it because I love that message. But anyways, since we moved the interview date, I didn't have it in time, but I'm going to post lots of pictures.
Yes.
So yeah, Christina, for the love of Peachy Bottom. And I always like other moms with their little kiddos too, because mine are only 2 and 4. So like, I love Summer. I know she's preggers right now, but I've talked to her a lot. I think I always gravitate, well, not always, but in the beginning I tried to I was gravitating towards people with like a similar body type, because I wanted to see like, how does the method work for them?
Yeah.
And Little Mamahood Life, like I looked at her a lot. So then Nikki, who got us to wear a bodysuit that everyone Sharon was one of the first people that I followed. Colleen, Blanche Forbes. I don't know, sometimes I don't even know how to pronounce the name because I have a way of pronouncing it in my head, but I don't even know if that's right. Yeah. She's always so supportive and sends all these positive messages. And Kristen and Erin and Katie Lynn, Caitlin. And then I have my Germany crew. So we did a TAM meetup in Germany. Was it last summer? Yeah, I think last summer. So there's Naz and Verena, which is Tanzmodi, and Lila Violette, which is Demona, And so we all met because Verena owns a dance studio there. So we did a little TAM meetup there. Oh, I see Naz. And like then here in Texas, there's Vaishnavi. She's One Rule TAM. We met for coffee before because she's not too far from me. Hi, Naz. And then Bridget, I met at the pop-up in Dallas, and she now lives in the same town as me. And we had a big group of Texas Tamily. We probably had at least 15-ish people, 10 to 15, right before the whole COVID crisis. And we were looking for April dates to do a TAM meetup. And obviously that has, you know, stopped. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, Gloria, you know, Go, Lipstick Tam, Laura, Laurel Ross, I talked to, Kat, super funny. I love her TikToks. And Icy just did a TikTok with me. Heather, I don't know how active she is on Instagram, but she's a dear friend. So there's just too many to name, but I love them all. If I forgot somebody, there's one girl, Connie, in South Africa. So then I always, you know, like that's kind of a cool connection. Her name is Attitude Lift, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, and Maria, mom of 3 Tam, she's in Vienna. My mom is from Prague. You know, so I have that Eastern European connection. So it's just like there's so many like little connections where I can like relate to people. Or when I see Christina, and she was like in London visiting her mom, like it just reminded me of my mom. Like whenever I Tam, my mom walks by this door, and then later she's like, "Are you sure you didn't work out too hard? This looks really hard."
Aw, yeah, that is amazing. That's so awesome that you can have those kind of connections from where you live.
Yeah, and I think a long time ago, you used to live in Tampa, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so my in-laws live in Bradenton.
Okay, yeah.
So I remember I messaged you, and you were like, "I just moved," you know? So there's just like...
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is a small Tamily world.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned that you went to the Dallas pop-up. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, so that, again, to put it into context, I'm sure Bridget would be like, is this the same person? Because the Dallas pop-up was when I said I started streaming in April 2017. My son was born March 16th, and the pop-up, I think, either it ended in May or even April. So like I've only been streaming for a couple weeks, and I was like, I gotta get to this pop-up because it's gonna close afterwards.
Yeah.
And so the pop-up was in a really nice area in Dallas, Highland Park, and they had the bouncy floors, but I don't know if it was her original floors or like, but they were definitely bouncy, and it was super humid and hot in there. So I remember just coming out like a tomato, and I was still nursing, you know, like,
oh my God.
You know, I had the big nursing boobs, and like my mom would be outside with my son, and they didn't have showers in there. So I had to like basically just like wipe myself down with like towels, whatever I could, because I needed to nurse him right after. You know? So, but it was it was so early on, I wasn't even using ankle weights at home yet. So I then used ankle weights there and was just like, oh, actually, I feel like I control the movement better with, oh, hey, Bridget. So Bridget was the manager. I don't know if she was the manager, but anyways, she was like leading the pop-up. So like she was doing the classes with me, and it was, but all they did is they streamed, basically had a big TV, and it was the same streaming class. It was just in the kind of Tracy environment, so the humidity and the stuff. So it definitely gave me a taste for what a studio would be like. I know that my heat and humidity don't get, I just know they're not there, you know, but it was a good experience. I would like to do it now. I would really like to know the stamina, like how my stamina has changed.
Oh, definitely. I'm sure it's a lot. So Nas asked a question in the chat. Did you get to see Tracy at the pop-up?
No, they didn't have, like, I think she had been there. I don't even know if she had ever been there, to be honest. Okay. I know some of her trainers were there in the beginning, but no. And I know there was this like, oh, is there going to be a Dallas studio? But I, you know, like, I think that is probably in the stars. I think she set her sights somewhere else.
Right. So what kind of overall results have you seen since you've been doing the method, both physically and non-physical?
Yeah, I like that you say non-physical, because I think that's like part of what is so important to me in health overall, like, is the mental component and just like a holistic component to things. So obviously it's hard to completely measure, because I was postpartum when I started. Yeah. So obviously I lost weight, and I don't know, probably 10 to 12 pounds or something overall. But you don't know. I don't know what I would have lost if I would have just sat in a chair. Like, I mean, maybe I would have lost some of it, But I know from my first pregnancy that that it did feel like I was getting stamina much faster. I do have to say, for all the moms who are out there who are nursing, like Tracy always says, first of all, like, protect your milk supply, but also I did get, I didn't do heat and humidity in the beginning. I didn't do ankle weights. I really like build it up. And then I did in the beginning get like almost these flu-like symptoms, like a day or two, like at the end of the day after my workout, because my body just had to adjust, but luckily I stuck with it, and I wasn't just like, oh, I'm never going to do this again. But it is a process, and I know so many times on the message boards, like, girls are like, oh, I'm going to be due in this month, and when can I start Tracy and stuff? And I think it's like, you can start it, just take it easy, like, just don't stress yourself out. But yeah, so the weight, and I think just the overall shape of my body. So I feel like I build muscle in my arms pretty quick. So I like working with these small weights so that it's toned and defined, but not bulky, And I do feel like my legs, that's like my weak, to me, who knows? Like, to me, it's my weak spot. And so I feel there is a better shape to my legs than I've had before through other workouts. And obviously we all work on our behind. I don't know, again, it's like one of those spots, like, I would never say like that's my best feature. I don't know how much training I would have to do to feel like comfortable, like wearing like a teeny bikini or something like that. But I always think, like, what would it be like if I wouldn't be doing the message? Like, I don't want to know that. So so that definitely, I think there's definitely, like, it helps with combating any type of like gravity. And I do think my stomach, like, I remember after giving birth, I thought, oh my gosh, I'll never, like, the skin is never going to go back to the muscle, and like, my stomach won't be looking like it did before. And now I think it's like with a lot of moms, I think Erin posted a picture too, like, it's like, definitely when I stand and everything's flat, like, I feel my stomach looks like it did before, and it's back to the muscle. Even when I'm in a plank, it's not as bad. I remember looking down being like, oh my gosh, is this ever going to change? And it did. It's exactly what Tracy said, the heat and the humidity and the consistency, it does go back to the muscle. But yeah, if I'm like slouching down like this, of course I have some of the looser skin, like like most women that have given birth, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah, or even women that haven't given birth, you
Yes,
know.
or even then, exactly, like anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I just talked to another friend and she's like, oh, I saw my workout and I just all I see is rolls. And I'm like, I think we all can see that when we watch our own video. You know, then we see like, oh, I'm rolling here, you know, and Tracy
Yeah.
is doing all these moves and, you know, your leggings cut in there or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think we see it more than anyone else would see
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, especially this community.
Yeah.
People look at things and they're like, you look gorgeous and
Yes.
you're perfect. And I'm like, what? I posted that as a blooper. Like, you know, we never see like that part of ourselves. But that's what's amazing about this community.
Yeah, and that's what I love about what you do, because you know, your life, I think, I mean, you going out doing live workouts, I mean, that's so vulnerable. That's so cool. And I know sometimes my husband's like, you're posting this? and even other friends who obviously don't know Tracy, I think they might think like, oh my gosh, like, aren't you gonna get like weird comments or harassed? But I have to say, this community is so positive. I've never gotten like oh, like, who do you think you are? And like, what, I don't know, whatever, like negative things that the internet can have so far have not happened.
Yeah, thankfully the community is pretty darn good at staying positive. Do you have any workout partners?
So Scotty just added me to one of the Zoom groups, but it's Pacific time, so it's kind of not the best timing for me in the day. So I do want to join a Zoom group. I, you know, obviously had my Germany troop when we did our meetup, and unfortunately, I mean, this is a tangent, but Naz actually went to the hospital with me in the middle of the night when we were in Germany. So because I used to have this heart condition, and it like, it's not too dangerous, but it happened. And so like, I can say the Tamily like is not only like, I mean, I knew her for one day and she, you know, spent like half the night with me in the ER.
Wow.
So thank you, Naz. I will never forget that. That was so awesome. And I have a couple friends who are not on Instagram, but they started. And then Bridget and I went to her house before and we camped together. And then I camped with one of my best friends, Kara. She's not on Instagram. We've done it in like when we would do like a girls meetup in like hotel rooms and stuff. And she does some of the DVDs. So most of my friends that have started TAM because they know that I do it, they're kind of in the DVD stage where they have a DVD and they do it now and then, but it's not their main lane of workout. They might do other things too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to kind of wait until it's the right time for it to become.
Yeah.
What would be your advice to someone that's new to the family or new just to the method, like some of your friends?
Yeah, it's interesting because one of my friends messaged me today. She's like, I think I want to do the 2-week trial. So yeah, I think for me, so first, I think I think people don't want to make an investment sometimes in like the ankle weights and the heat and the humidity and a space, just even like setting up a dedicated space. So for me, my advice would be like, if you're interested, like try to at least find a space in your home where you have a mat and you have your weights. And if you have invested in the ankle weights, then the ankle weights, because just having that ready and having a space that you don't have to reset up all the time, I think that helps, or even a dedicated room or something, because if you are in that mode where it's like, oh, I'm in my living room, and I know some people do it in their living room and they just have to set it up back and forth, and that's, you know, if it works for them, that's great, but then I think you're less like, it's like one more hurdle to get it done, right? To like move the coffee table or whatever. And so like a dedicated space, I think is good. And then, like I said, with the post-pregnancy, working yourself up. And when your wrists hurt and your knees in the beginning, you know, to just kind of know that that will pass. um, and the other advice I think that I have given to friends, because a lot of them are like, oh, you know, I do bigger weights though. Like, I think I'm going to do this with, you know, 6-pound weights or whatever. And I, like, I would just tell them rather not to do that. Just first of all, it's not the design, but second of all, like if you take that heavy weight and you fling it out like we fling our weight sometimes, like you can seriously like injure yourself. So or you lose control of the weight, you know. So I those would be like pieces of advice. I don't know, what advice have you given people?
No, that's it. Honestly, the thing about the wrist and knees, I always point out too, because people will sometimes say, like, I don't know how you can deal with that wrist pain. And I'm like, your wrist gets stronger just like the rest of your body. My wrists haven't hurt since 2015. Like, you know, it's, you just have to like keep doing it. I think one of the biggest things is just being consistent, not expecting it to be perfect, not trying, like to your point, doing the ankle weights and doing the heat and humidity and all that stuff from the beginning is not realistic. Like doing a little bit of it, doing a half an hour every day, that's how you can kind of know, like, okay, I really should invest in this method. I should try going to a studio. I should, you know, go ahead and sign up for streaming. Like if you do little pieces of it, like a lot of the time I've had people that are like, oh, I'm not ready yet because I don't have everything. And I'm like, press play anyway and see if you get there. Like nobody gets there from the beginning. I mean, that's really intimidating to think about. You have to have all these things and have all this stuff ready and everything has to be perfect. Like most of us, you know, do this method for a long time before we're like at that point with it.
Exactly. For me, it was the same. It was like, okay, I ordered the ankle weights, and then at some point I ordered the big mat, and at some point I ordered the humidifier, and then I had a heater, you know, like you just step it kind of. And with the wrists too, just because I'm like passionate about postpartum ladies, there is something when you have a baby, that your wrists are weaker for a while after you give birth. And it's like also with the relaxant in your body. So like, especially for those gals who are like, maybe did it and then they're doing it again and they're like, oh my gosh, like my wrists have never done this before or something. And you're nursing the baby and holding, you know, holding the head and stuff like that goes on your wrist and your arm and everything. Like it'll go away as you build the strength, you know, but that is completely normal.
So we have a couple questions about nutrition in the chat. If you want to answer these, one is, do you change your nutrition on the days that you can? And the other is, what does your nutrition look like in general? Like, do you have a high protein drink before you work out? Do you have a diet plan?
That kind of stuff? Yeah, so I mean, disclaimer, I'm a health coach, so I help people with that type of stuff. And so if anyone wants to know the details, they can message me. I don't want to totally sidetrack this interview, but yes, so I guess I'll answer the second question first. So yes, I do have a nutrition plan. It's obviously also kind of the plan that I coach. I'm on like what I call like the maintenance portion of it. So I do try to eat. So again, I don't just, this is what works for me and what works for people who contact me, who other things haven't worked for them. But I know a lot of the Tamily does intermittent fasting or whatever. So like, I don't want to offend anyone. If something works for you, and that's great, you know. So I try to eat 6 times a day, or I really am committed to eating 6 times a day and eating smaller portions. Then for dinner, I usually eat what I call a lean and green, so lean protein and vegetables. I try to drink 64 ounces of water. And so when I'm not somehow trying to lose weight, which I'm really not right now, but I might be if I like, you know, post holidays or something, I might feel like, oh, you know, I gotta rein it in or something. but then I might eat like another lean and green in the middle of the day, in the more, and then the things that I eat, they're kind of macro balanced, so they have the right nutritional footprint for like protein and carbs and fat and sugar to keep your blood sugar level, so that you don't like kind of crash. Today my husband wanted to eat pizza, and I still employed like some portion control, but it was a normal pizza, not cauliflower or anything like that. And I did, like right before I interview, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I need to make a coffee, because that blood sugar crashed. So I tried to eat so that stays even. And I do have a drink. So I do drink protein shakes. You know, people can message me if they want to know exactly what shake or whatever. But that also drink like aminos sometimes, which helps. Like I do it pre and post workout. Sometimes I forget, but first of all, it helps with getting more liquid in, but it also helps build and maintain muscle mass. So obviously the more muscle you have, lean muscle, you know, the more calories you burn, even if you're just not doing anything. So that is good. I even had my parents drink it because it helps with aging people, you know, who are losing muscle mass. So it's not like to just, you know, bulk up or anything like that, just for like lean muscle mass. And on the days, what was the other question? If I eat differently on the days that I work? Yeah. So if I'm like trying to lose weight, I eat a certain way on the days that I don't work out. And then when I do work out, I add like an additional, you know, protein or banana or Greek yogurt or something like that. But right now, since I'm not trying to lose weight, I pretty much eat the same. I'm really not like, people might think that I'm like, oh my gosh, she probably never eats sweets, or she never eats this, or like I do eat all of the things. And I drink alcohol sometimes. That's not one of my personal things that I like want to go do. For me, it's more like the, you know, like the chocolate cookie, or like chocolate in general, or I don't know, or ice cream or something like that. But I try to make better choices most of the time, so that if I have an evening where I'm just at capacity, like Tracy sometimes says, like, then, you know, then I can have the chocolate because my dinner was on point and other things were on point. So it's kind of balances out. Yeah. I hope that makes sense.
It does.
People can message me if they have more specific questions.
So what is your routine around working out? Like, which workout do you do, and do you do dance cardio?
Okay. So I'm really an Attain girl. I should be an Attain every day. And every time Tracy talks about, I feel like it's a personal lecture to me when she's like, this last message where she's like, if you're going into it and you're like thinking, oh, you know, I can't handle it, I'm going to do fundamental, but you really know that you can do it, you know, like, so I feel that's kind of me. Like, I know I can do Attain. It's been, and I go in spurts, like when I have my parents here to help with the kids, or before this quarantine, no school stuff, no daycare stuff, I was more consistent with Attain because the time, like I had the time, and when I was doing it, I wasn't inconveniencing my husband or anyone else because the kids were in school, or, you know, and I knew certain days where I know I can get it done without inconveniencing anyone. So now during this quarantine, I've been jumping around more because sometimes I just have 30 minutes. That's all I have. Or other times I just know I'm just so worn out with like the kids 24/7 that and work and other things, you know, all together all day. And that I just am like, okay, I think I just can do mentally. I can only do fundamental, you know? And but I usually do attain at least once for the week, just to know that I did the attain and know that I can do it. And like I did attain yesterday and I did fundamental today, because for today we had the interview and I had other things to get done. So I was like, okay, I just want it to be a little shorter and I can't, you know, use my brain power. But then I dance cardio. I love dance cardio. I love dancing. I'm not as regular with it as I would like to be. I feel like it's at maybe once a week, if every other week, I at least do some dance cardio. But Loretta had talked about doing it after arms. And I tried that, and that is fantastic. I think that actually really works. And if I had an hour and a half every day where I could just like do whatever I want and nobody's inconvenienced and my kids aren't screaming and my husband doesn't have to watch the kids or whatever, like, then I would probably do that. But I just don't have that right now. So it's kind of an either or. If I do dance cardio, I'm probably going to do only start or no muscular structure at all. But I hope in the future, I hope when this whole thing, when I have more support with the kids and stuff, that I can build that. I love what Cassie has done with like really building it up. And that's something that I would definitely, that's like a goal. But yeah, I did sometimes throw in like Zumba or other dance stuff outside of Tracy, that I like as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, even if you just do a few minutes of dance cardio after arms and before legs, like, I love that suggestion.
Have you done that?
Yeah, even if it's just like 5 minutes. And I feel like it just kind of takes your workout like to another level. Like,
yeah,
really sweaty, and it's kind of like a higher calorie burn, like legs, even if, you know, it's literally only 5 minutes. Like,
I think maybe that's what I should do. Maybe I should just start with like 5 minutes and then just do that. So that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, I'm not doing that right now, but I did it for a long time, so I should go back to doing it. What is something that you've learned from Tracy?
So there's I feel like I always learn something from her, and that's like, I think that's my personality. I listened to a podcast yesterday and the guy was like, yeah, I feel like I am, Janelle is here. Love her breakdowns, love dancing with her. She has the fire arms.
Oh yeah.
So like, what I love about Tracy is that she's kind of the constant learner and like that growth mindset. And that's, I completely identify with that. I feel like this guy in this podcast, he said like, oh, I'm kind of a seeker. And I was like, oh, that's a good term. I think that's kind of like, I feel like that. I always seek out like the best, like things that people who are at the top of their game, like what are they doing? How are they doing it? And, you know, obviously that's Tracy. And I like that she talks about the mental component. So the endorphins part that she talked back a while back, that your endorphins really only kick in after maybe the 30 minutes or more. And that then you're kind of like high for that next day until you do it again. I think that was like super, that was like an aha moment for me. Also, the other thing that doesn't have to do anything necessarily with the method, but when she used to do those interviews, somebody asked her, you know, oh, you seem like such a great parent, like what parenting advice do you have? And she recommended this book, The Tao, so The Parent's Tao Te Ching, which I hope I pronounced that right. It's like basically ancient Chinese philosophies, and that this writer put into these beautiful, almost like poem-like little um, paragraphs, and it talks about those wisdoms for parents. So I bought that book, and I give that now to everybody who is expecting a child, and they have the same one for couples. Like
Okay.
those type of ancient wisdoms for couples, and so that's like my go-to present for somebody who gets married.
Oh,
And they are, I found that through Tracy, through like just like her short answer that this is a book that she reads or that she has referenced, and I love that book. I love the philosophy of that, of those little ancient wisdom, like kind of like your children are really who they already are. Like there's nothing like, we think like, oh, what I'm going to do is going to shape this person. But like, it's really more like guiding them and keeping them safe.
mm-hmm.
But they already have everything that they're supposed to have. So there's just like really beautiful things like that in there. I'm trying to think what other things, every time she talks, I take something away from it. But those two things are stick out right now.
Yeah, it really is amazing that we learn so much about the workout from her, but there's always these other elements that really like speak to your whole self.
Yeah. Hey,
Um,
Christina.
there's lots of fun watching us right now. Why is your workout important to you in particular?
I think it's that consistency, right? Like in everything we do, it's like the consistency with your food, the consistency with your workout, the consistency in like any type of self-care. I'm trying to do like gratitude in the morning and evening now and stuff like that. And so it's just that habit. Everything is like our life isn't controlled. Our life isn't really controlled by us. It's by the habits that we create. So when it's in your brain that is something you just do every day or every other day or whatever your routine is, like it just creates that neural pathway in your brain, and you just automatically do it. So that's, I think, part of when I sometimes, like, we just went to Utah and I didn't work out as much.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, it's harder to get back on the mat. And today was one of those days where I was like, oh, I have so much to do. Maybe I'll just skip it. But I was like, no, I should go because I want to strengthen that connection again. Because the more frequently I do it, the more, like Tracy said, the more you crave it and the more you're going to do it again. So even if you can only get on the mat for half an hour, I'd rather do that than nothing, just to have that mental connection. And that's why I think it's important just to strengthen that habit. And then it's kind of that me time, like you have that conversation with yourself and you can connect with yourself. And a lot of the times I have ideas about what I want to do for the day towards the end of the workout or even work-wise. Hi, Sharon. So yeah, that's why I think it's important to make it a priority.
Do you have a motivational quote that you would like to share with the family?
The one that comes to mind, and I don't know why that one's coming to mind, it's from Rumi, I think, and it says, live life like everything is rigged in your favor, or like things are rigged in your favor. I think, what's her name? Who's this lady? She's like this big business lady. I think the Huffington Post. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
the owner of the Huffington.
Ariana?
Yes, Ariana Huffington. She was doing an interview with Gwyneth Paltrow, and she said that was one of her favorite quotes. Mm-hmm. So I then went on a trip with one of my best friends, Kara, and this is about a year ago, and we kind of had this quote as our little thing for the weekend. And the funny thing, it really was like that. When you have that attitude, like things are going to work out for you, like they just somehow do. It's just like when you're driving and you're thinking, every time I'm driving with my mom, she's like, oh my God, we're not going to find a parking spot. There's not going to be a parking spot. I'm like, Mom, there's going to be a parking spot. And sure enough, there is one. You know,
Yeah.
I remember once like just driving with my husband, and I was like, it was packed. I'm like, we're gonna find a great spot. I roll down my window, and this lady leans in. She's like, "We're about to leave. Do you want the spot?" And so I really believe in this like positive thinking, you know, the secret, like kind of what you create, like the waves you send out and that type of stuff. So I don't always do it because I definitely am like also a worry ward, and I try to overcome those tendencies. But when I can, I like that, like living life like everything's rigged in your favor.
That's excellent. I always think about there's a quote or a line or something, I forget who it's from, but it's that if you knew the power of your negative thinking, you would never think another negative thought again. And
Totally.
it's completely and totally true. Like it really is. Your destiny is within control. Let me see what else we have to ask you. I think we've asked everything that's in the chat. So if anyone has any more questions, please type them in now. How did you discover the Tamily?
I don't even know how it started. I think it just like, I obviously was following Tracy on Instagram, and then I knew there was streaming, and I think one of the first people I followed was Sharon, and then Julie, yeah, and Loretta, and I think I just, as soon as I started, at first it was like just 3-4 people, and then eventually I was like, oh, like there's more. So that was then when I was like thinking, okay, I'm gonna stream, and then just added more and more people. And I probably followed people for at least, I think like most people, for a year or longer before I made my own account. And then even when I made my own account, or I had a personal account, yes, then I made my own account after like posting just to my stories on my personal account. Then I was like, okay, let's just post, I figured out, oh, you can have 2 Instagram accounts. And then I did my own, and then started posting. So I think if you look at one of my very first posts, you can see I was still kind of post-pregnancy. Yeah.
We'll have to look back at that. What does the Tamily mean to you?
To me, it's like this. Obviously, it's a community, and I think we're really not made to do hard things alone. And so that's what I preach in my nutrition when I work with people. And that's, I found a similar community there. So now when I try to do things, I want to find like-minded people that keep me motivated, that keep me going, that also keep me accountable in a way, because that's the thing, like with the Tamily, you're like, oh, she already did the workout, and she did, and they posted it, and oh, this move looks interesting, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And since I always used to be the studio person, and I like the community of the studio and having people around me, and some of my best friends in Salt Lake City, one owned a yoga studio, the other one has, had yoga studio that she built into multiple, into like a bigger studio, and we all connected over this fitness community in a way. And so that's what keeps you going. If you were just to do it alone, like in a room by yourself, I think you would give up very quickly or not be motivated to continue. And so that it really is that accountability partner, that community. I mean, so many of these, I wouldn't have the business I have right now without the Tamily, because some of my first clients were Tamily, people that I didn't even know, and in person, and they believed in me. And so, and then I look at Christina's business, and I'm like, I think there's so many businesses, or Scotty's business, and what people are doing that is connected, and we're all supporting each other. Or like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention Erica, Salty Blob Living. Like I just ordered some products from her. You got to check her out. And like I wouldn't know these people. I wouldn't know what they're doing. I wouldn't get the benefits of their knowledge or their products if it wasn't for the Tamily. So I think that's so cool. Like it's almost like somebody already has vouched for what they're doing because they're Tamily.
Yeah, exactly. So we're coming up on our last couple of minutes with you. So we would just like to know if there's anything else you would like to say to the Tamily or share with the Tamily while you have this audience.
Oh my gosh. I guess what I would like to say is thank you to everyone to being so supportive and to being part of the Tamily. And oh, yep. I just saw Scotty's comment. And I think that, let's just take this positivity that we have in our community in the Tamily and take it to everywhere in our life. It would just make it hopefully a better world. We're so many different people with probably different opinions and values, and we basically are showing everyone out there that you can be from all over the world. You can have totally different backgrounds and still connect in such a deep way. And over social media, which is so often something negative in our life. So I think that's the message. Just like continue to spread the love and be positive and support each other, and that's what I would want to say.
Well, we have had so much fun talking to you and getting to know you a little bit better and getting some insight into like what you do as a health coach and what your journey has been with the method. And you are a very inspirational member of Tamily. So thank you so much for spending almost an hour with us today. We really
thank you. Thank you for what you do and bringing us together and giving us this platform. This is awesome, and thanks for everyone who tuned in. This is just great.
Yes, it was really fun. Thanks for being number 97.
Yay! I love the number 7, so
perfect. Well, this will be on actually IGTV now on my page because Instagram changed the way they do things, and then we'll also get it onto YouTube in a few days.
Sounds perfect.
Thank you.
Bye.
Great weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Tamily.